Right, so I haven't talked about this show in a while. It's Castlevania. Season 4 came out a few days ago. Got a lot to watch because Castlevania came out, finished that obviously, hence doing the video on it. Lucifer Season 5B came out. Why didn't they just call it Season 5 and Season 6? You know, it's Netflix. You can have an 8-episode season. It doesn't matter, you know. But they split it into 2 for some reason. But today we're going to talk about Castlevania Season 4. And this may possibly be the best season so far, the best individual season so far. Because we had last season, which was a bit of filler, a bit of kind of just downtime. We'll see what all the characters are doing, and none of what happens in the last season really has anything to do with what's going on here, apart from maybe the Isaac and Hector stuff. But all the stuff with Trevor and Cypher, that basically could have basically just been taken out of last season. All the stuff with Alucard, that wasn't really necessary, because nothing from that came back in this season. But this season basically gives those characters a lot more to do, especially Alucard. Alucard is basically the main character in this season. Again, Trevor and Cypher don't really do anything. They go to a town, they fight a few vampires, then, you know, the big fight at the end. And by the end of this season, Dracula's back. Dracula is actually back for good this time, it seems, and his wife is back. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens from that to make Dracula go back to the side of evil, because it seems now that his wife is back, Dracula's going to be a good guy again, or at least going to be somewhat of a good guy. But it looks definitely like something's going to happen to make Dracula a bad guy again, but we'll have to wait and see what happens next season. The biggest thing for me was, what are they going to do to find new villains, since they basically got rid of Dracula and put him off the table in Season 2. They had the big epic fight with Dracula in Season 2. What's interesting is how are they going to top that fight, because they managed to have the most epic moment in the show in this season when Trevor's actually fighting death. That was amazing. But how do you top that, and how do you have a fight against Dracula that has more weight behind it than the fight you had in Season 2 with Dracula? I don't know, and it may be a point where the show kind of has to reach its conclusion at some point, or, you know, reach that point where Trevor's not in it anymore and it goes on to Simon Belmont. I think that's definitely what they're leading on with, because they teased the idea of what if we killed off Trevor at this point, and obviously I was thinking maybe that's going to stick and it's going to be Simon going forward, because they've confirmed that Cypher is pregnant now, probably with Simon, and yeah, what's going to happen next? What is the next season going to be? You know, Trevor and Cypher being parents. Do you want to see that in an anime? Probably not. Is the next season going to be Simon's like coming of age kind of story, or is it going to be more of Trevor and Cypher doing their own stuff and Alucard doing his own thing? And is Season 5 going to be another kind of refresher, another kind of laid back season, another filler season, because this has been bombastic, and season 6 is probably going to be the big, epic match. Like, the big shit is going to happen in season 6, and season 5 is just going to be a breather. I don't know. I hope it's not. I hope every season has, like, the big badass moments, because even season 3 did have that big badass moment with Isaac riding on the horse, fighting all those, like, that, like, orb of dead bodies. That's like the most anime thing that's happened in Castlevania so far. That being said, there have been some pretty anime stuff that happened in this season as well. We had the fight between Isaac and Carnilla. I should have probably given a spoiler warning before. The spoiler warning is in the title of the video. You know there's going to be spoilers. It's me talking about it. I can't not talk about spoilers. But the fight between Isaac and Carnilla, amazing. Where we just see Carnilla getting reduced to the absolute monster that she is, and you know, we have Isaac just using all of the monster things as his, like, to assist him, because you know he's just a guy. He could easily get killed by Carnilla, but you know, all these other things assisting him, you know, he's unstoppable. Some cool moments with Hector. Not really anything groundbreaking, but we see his actual, like, he actually has feelings for Lenore, which you would think everything that happened to him in the last season, you would just want to get out. You just want to escape that situation, but no. His whole thing was like, escape with Lenore so I can live with her. No, that's a terrible idea. But by the end of the season, Lenore commits suicide. Hector kind of is left with nothing to do. He kind of doesn't have a plot now. His plot has kind of run its course. So either they're going to introduce a character to replace him in that kind of scenario. Isaac and Hector are probably gone now. There's nothing more to do with those two characters in the show. So unfortunately, them being my two favourite characters, it's sad to see that their stories kind of come to its natural end. But now that Dracula's back, they might have a story about Dracula going around looking for revenge, and Dracula might fight those two, and then there might be like, then he might die, or Hector might die, Isaac might die. I was half expecting Isaac to die in this season, to be honest, but no such thing happened. I was half expecting Hector to die. He did chop off his finger, but he didn't die. It looked like Trevor was about to die at one point. He didn't die. Everyone thought he was dead, but he didn't die. He fought death, but he won. The weird thing about this season for me was how they treat Saint-Germain. I didn't like what they did with his character. In season 3, he was probably the best part of season 3, where he was kind of, it was that point where you thought he's either evil or he's just a douchebag, and it came to the point where he was a good guy and he was doing what he was doing for noble reasons or for like justifiable reasons, and he was like one of the protagonists. But in this, no, he's full on evil. He's full on evil until the end of the season and he makes his noble sacrifice, but it doesn't feel earned. It feels like he goes from being a good guy to being like, I have to do this because I want to see the woman I love, but my morals are saying like, is this all worth it? To like, I'm ready to, I don't care about any of these people. I wanna see the woman that I love again, and I'm ready to bring back the most evil thing on the planet to do so. And then he finds out that he's been played by death, and he's then like, oh my god, what have I done? And then he dies. So I don't feel like it was earned. I don't feel like we earned his death, because his death still came at a point where all of the characters in the show kind of felt like kind of knew or still thought that he was a bad guy. It came at a point where he hadn't really had that big, he hadn't had that big hero sacrifice moment. He just brought back Dracula, and then he was like, oh shit, I've done the wrong thing. I'm a terrible human being, and then he dies. He has the realization that he did something wrong, but he never acts on his realization. He never makes any attempts to fight death. He never makes any attempts to right his wrong and then die. He just kind of dies in the explosion of the Belmont Castle. Or not the Belmont Castle, Dracula's castle. But the fight that ensues after that, where Trevor's fighting death, that's one of the best fights in the entire show. In the entire series, not just this season, not just this and last season. The entire series is head and shoulders above what we had in the first three seasons, and that's what I have to say about this whole season. I really liked everything about it. It wraps up Isaac and Hector's story beautifully. It introduces two new characters that, yes, are gone by the end of the season, but you don't care about them, but you're like, I want to see these two characters get the shit kicked out of them. And when they do fight Trevor and Cypher, it's a really cool fight, and the action is ramped up to 11. The story is ramped up to 11. Everything about this season, apart from the stuff with Saint Germain, which I thought was handled pretty poorly. I feel like that character, especially from everything in the first season, and the fact that it's Bill Nighy playing him, it's probably the biggest name in the show besides Richard Armitage. Bill Nighy, and his character doesn't really get much of a send off or much of an arc. His arc goes from being, I want to find the woman I love who's trapped in the infinite corridor, to I need to bring back Dracula to find the woman that I love who's trapped in the infinite corridor, to oh shit, I helped death bring back Dracula, I'm a horrible person, and then dead. It's not the greatest character arc, and I feel like just for that character and for him having the best dialogue, for him having kind of being one of the better characters in the show, in my opinion, I feel like he should have done more or been more of a focus or been more of a... It was a big focus. Like, he had 2 episodes just focused on him, one in season 3, one in this season, and I feel like the end, how they kind of closed off his character arc or how they closed off his storyline was a bit rushed and a bit forced. But yeah, I hope he's not dead. I don't want him to be dead because I think they need to. I think there's more to do with that character. I feel like we need to explore the Infinite Corridor a bit more as well in the next season, because in season 3 we saw that like mech thing, and it's like, what the fuck is up with that? That's not a Castlevania thing in the slightest. I want to know more about that. I want to know more about the Infinite Corridor. I don't really care about Dracula coming back. I want to know about that and the corridor into other worlds. I think that's the more interesting story. So that's what I want in the next season, and maybe to see some more Halloween monsters, to see some more of the monsters, because it seems like we had skeletons in this season and we had death in this season, and we've had Dracula and vampires throughout the whole series. But I feel like we need something that's not a vampire to be like the big bad. So like Frankenstein's monster maybe, or you know, a mummy, or like mummies, something else. Because just vampires on their own, you know, just, you know, seeing the other things, the night creatures. I don't necessarily think that's great. I wish they went more into the pool of Castlevania villains, or like Halloween monsters, to actually be the villains of this show. Like that's my take. I'm glad that Death was in this season. I really like that they're starting to pull more from that pantheon, but a bit more. I wanna see like the most bombastic stuff in the next season, and I hope they do. Like werewolves, like tons of stuff. I want to see everything in the next season. Like I really have high hopes for the next season, because this season was so good, and honestly I think it's the best season so far. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of Castlevania Season 4 in the comments below if you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, you probably shouldn't watch this video. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.